The U.S. government is preparing to erase about $37 trillion in national debt. You heard that right. $37 trillion. Poof! This isn't a theory from some basement blogger. This is coming straight from an insider, one of Vladimir Putin's closest advisors in Russia. He says the United States is ready to use Bitcoin and digital dollars, crypto and stablecoins to pull off the biggest financial reset in history. The plan? Shove that giant debt pile into a crypto cloud, wipe the slate clean, and leave everyone else around the globe holding worthless IOUs. You must know how they plan to cheat the system because your savings and your future are on the line. I'm going to reveal the secret backdoor the U.S. government is already using right now to build a strategic financial weapon. This crucial information will be given at the very end of this video, so you need to watch every single second. The ultimate goal of the U.S. is simple: rewrite the global money rules and force the entire world into this new digital system. Once the world is hooked, the U.S. moves its mountain of $37 trillion worth of IOUs into digital assets like stablecoins. Then they devalue it. That is the ultimate financial escape plan. But wait, what the heck does devalue the debt mean? It sounds technical, but it's the oldest trick in the book. Let's keep it simple. Imagine that the total worth of the entire planet is just $100. I borrowed that $100 from you. I now owe you every penny back. If I were a normal guy, I'd have to work my butt off to earn that $100 and pay you back. But I'm not a normal guy. I control the world's most powerful currency. So instead of paying you back the hard way, I just print another $100 out of thin air. Now, the world doesn't have $100 circulating anymore. It has $200. Did we make more houses? Nope. Did we grow more food? Nope. We just doubled the money supply without doubling the stuff available to buy. This is inflation. The price of everything you want goes up. Real estate, stocks, gold, even the milk and eggs in your grocery cart. When I finally hand you the original $100 I owed you, it looks like I paid my debt in full. But I cheated you. That $100 you got back is only worth half of what it was when I borrowed it. It buys half as much stuff. I lowered the real value of the debt. This is how the U.S. government always pays its bills. They devalue the debt through printing and currency manipulation. It happened after World War II. It happened during the mess in the 70s. It happened when they printed massive amounts of new money during the pandemic. Devaluing the debt is how the U.S. government settles up without having to technically default or fail to pay. Now, if you take that old dirty trick and you make it global, you get stablecoins. But first, you need to understand one crucial thing about the economy. The natural state of the entire universe is for things to get cheaper over time. If we didn't print any more money, if there was only that original $100 forever, technology and innovation would constantly make us better at making stuff. Productivity goes up, the supply of stuff increases, prices should naturally drop. Everything should cost less. That is the natural order. But we don't live in that world. Why? Because the government can create more money whenever it feels like it. When they print more cash, we hear about assets hitting all-time highs, stocks, houses, gold. But those assets aren't really skyrocketing. Your dollar is collapsing. It's melting away underneath those assets. It takes more of these weak printed dollars to buy the same stock or the same piece of land. The assets you own, like Bitcoin, they're just holding on to their original buying power while the dollar underneath them sinks. So how do stablecoins expand this destructive superpower beyond U.S. borders? When the U.S. inflates the dollar today, Americans feel the pain immediately. We see higher prices at the grocery store. We see insane energy bills. We feel the sting of higher interest rates trying to cool things down. People get mad. Stablecoins change the entire game. Stablecoins are digital dollars. They are supposed to be pegged one-to-one to the U.S. dollar. When you hold a stablecoin, the company that issued it parks the reserve money in short-term U.S. government debt. They buy treasuries. This means every time someone overseas uses a stablecoin, they are indirectly funding America's massive national debt. They are holding a digital IOU backed by the U.S. government. Here is the genius and the brutality of the plan. When the U.S. devalues the dollar through inflation, the hit doesn't just crush American citizens. It gets instantly spread worldwide through the stablecoin system. Inflation becomes a required tax that everyone holding these digital dollars is forced to pay. Their digital cash loses buying power right alongside ours. But there's a sneaky advantage here. Stablecoins can look neutral. Private companies, not just the U.S. government, can create these digital dollars. Imagine if a huge corporation like Apple or Meta created their own digital currency. They just need the U.S. government's special approval. This means the system doesn't have the political stink of the Federal Reserve or the Treasury Department. The U.S. gets total central bank control over the world's money, but without the hated central bank digital currency brand name. Now you know why the rest of the world is furious. They remember 1971. The U.S. government promised the world that the dollar was tied to gold forever. Then, President Nixon suddenly cut the link. It was a total betrayal, a financial just kidding moment. The world lost faith. Today, stablecoins promise they are backed one-to-one by real U.S. assets. But foreign governments can't audit that claim with 100% certainty. You have to trust the American company that issues it, and you have to trust the American auditor. When we're talking about trillions of dollars, trust is the one thing the U.S. government doesn't have. The world knows there's nothing stopping the U.S. from pulling the exact same rug pull with digital stablecoins that they did with gold back in 1971. This is why countries around the world are aggressively buying gold. They are screaming, "We don't want your digital IOUs. Give us the hard asset that has worked for thousands of years." So, will the U.S. actually use crypto to eliminate its debt? Yes, I think it is inevitable, but it won't happen the way the Russian advisor thinks. Remember Michael Saylor? He publicly told President Trump to sell off all U.S. gold and buy millions of Bitcoin. Saylor's plan was a massive financial attack. Selling the gold would crush the wealth of enemies like China and Russia who hold gold, and buying Bitcoin would send America's strategic assets soaring to a value of maybe $100 trillion. But the U.S. didn't openly buy Bitcoin. They didn't risk global financial panic. Why? Because the government has a better, stealthier plan. Here is the ultimate secret weapon the government is already exploiting: the backdoor. The U.S. government would never directly buy Bitcoin because it would risk crashing the gold market and starting a public panic. It's too loud and too obvious. It's way smarter to let a private corporation do all the heavy lifting first. Look at companies like MicroStrategy. This company acts like a proxy for Bitcoin. They have been buying Bitcoin nonstop. They hold hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. What if the government just lets powerful private companies build up a massive strategic asset reserve of Bitcoin? Then later, when the time is right, the government can step in quietly and take a partial stake in that company. We've seen this happen before when the U.S. government took a share in major corporations. The government doesn't openly sell its gold and risk chaos. It lets the private sector spend the money, experiment, and prove the concept. When the private innovation becomes too critical to ignore, like when they need to solve the $37 trillion debt problem, the government just steps in and absorbs the asset nationally. This strategy is subtle, it's gradual, it's deniable until the moment it becomes official. The Russian advisor is absolutely right that the U.S. will use this powerful tool to fix its massive debt problem. They're just not right about the method. This entire plan hinges on the quiet, creeping devaluation of the dollar exported globally through digital money, while the U.S. secretly stockpiles the world's next greatest asset, all through private companies. This is the only way out for the $37 trillion debt bomb. This is going to happen. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Smash the like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next video that exposes the real economy, and hit the notification bell. I'll see you soon.